Hey, hi everyone. This is it. This is not a drill. We're finally doing it. We're finally getting to the Emperor's Children State of the Legion. Bit of a different setup today. I'm trying some new things. I've got a new microphone, my laptop there, so I can make sure it's recording. This is. I hope it works. I've got my normal microphone on just in case anything goes wrong, but hopefully this works and this is okay. Um, this has been a long time coming. I started this series months, probably 6 months ago now, if not longer, and I just kept putting this one off. But we're finally going to do it, and then hopefully at some point we'll get a new codex. But for now, Emperor's Children State of the Legion. Normally in these videos I would have an army arrayed in front of me. That's what I've done for most of my other videos. Unfortunately, I don't really have an Emperor's Children army to speak of. I've got a few bits and pieces, about 1,000 points that I'm trying to get painted for something, but really, I think I join most people in being sort of on the waiting list for nice new plastics. Really, I've got some resin parts and I've got some resin bits and pieces, some third-party models, that sort of thing. But really, I think I'm just waiting for some nice plastic multi-part kit. Noise marines and that sort of thing before I can really get much of an Emperor's Children army going, so hopefully we get that soon. But enough about that. What I do with these videos is I go over the Warlord traits and the stratagems and the relics and give my insights or my own personal tactics for combos and that sort of thing as we go. I will say right off the bat that there will be at least two sort of big combos, big super combos that I'll mention briefly, won't go into huge detail for. I'll do 2 extra videos for them just to really focus on them, maybe roll some dice and that sort of thing. So there may be some things that I skim over just because I want to do another video on them another time. But the Emperor's Children, there's a lot to talk about there. A very strong legion. I think they're quite a strong legion in the canon, in the fluff. They're quite a strong legion that's a bit more coherent than a lot of other legions, and they definitely have that reflected. I think this is definitely one of the stronger supplements. I think it's one of the more competitive. If you're a Chaos player and you're somebody who says Chaos Space Marines aren't any good at the minute, they can't be competitive, they need their 2 wounds, all this kind of stuff. This is exactly the sort of thing that you need. Hopefully, if you listen to this, you can take some on board and maybe start winning some games. Because honestly, you don't need the two. I've said this about the other armies that I've looked at, the other legions that I've looked at already, World Eaters and Iron Warriors and Night Lords and stuff. You don't need the 2 wounds. You're perfectly capable of killing Space Marines, killing whatever else you need to kill, and winning games without the 2 wounds. So. This should be good for you if you're struggling to play Chaos Space Marines. So let's just get into it. Warlord traits. Warlord traits stimulated by pain. This is the Codex one. It's +1 attack. For each wound he suffers to a maximum of +3, and he loses them if he regains those wounds anyway. This is what I call a trash tier Warlord trait. This is something I would never ever bother taking. You never want a completely passive Warlord trait that only kicks in maybe at some point if your Warlord is injured, and even then only if they're not killed outright, and even then it's something as petty as +1 attack per wound. It's just trash. You'd never take this. It's rubbish. Then you've got Intoxicating Musk. It's an aura. Aura abilities are always good. When resolving an attack made by an enemy unit within 3 inches of this Warlord, subtract 1 from the hit roll. This is actually quite a good one. I don't know if it's the one I would take, but a 3-inch -1 to hit aura, pretty good, and there's already things I think for you to minus people's attacks and that sort of thing later on. So if you can stack it up, it's pretty good. It's okay, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of minuses going around, and it's the kind of thing where if you're in combat with somebody who has power fists, power claws, that kind of thing, they're already -1 to hit. It's basically not doing anything for you. So I'm not sure I'd really bother. Then you've got Unbound Arrogance. When you choose this Warlord to fight with, you and your opponent secretly choose a number from 1 to 3 on a d6. We suggest turning the d6 to show the number but concealing this behind your hand. Then reveal your choice simultaneously. If the chosen numbers differ, this Warlord can make a number of additional attacks that fight sequence equal to the number. So it's just a bullshit long-winded way of saying get d3 attacks, somewhere between 1 and 3 extra attacks, and even then only if you're right and your opponent guesses the wrong number. This is another trash tier Warlord trait. You'd know. I mean, I guess it's something you do maybe in a really thematic game. In a really thematic game, you were just having fun. But honestly, this is rubbish. This is garbage. You would never ever do this, even if you're right. What do you get? Like two attacks, plus 1 attack, plus 2 attacks, plus 3 attacks. Oh, it's garbage. Never do it. Faultless Duelist. At the start of your fight phase, roll 1d3. Until the end of that phase, subtract the result from the attacks characteristic of the enemy models within whilst they're within engagement range of the Warlord. So it's okay, but it only affects the model specifically in contact with him. It's not like it affects the squad or anything. So it's if you have maybe a Demon Prince and he was getting surrounded by Orc boys, they've got 3 or 4 attacks each. You roll a d3 and they just lose 2 or 3 attacks. It's not bad. It's not bad, and it could screw a character as well if they count you on 6 attacks. You get the 3, and then now they've only got 3 attacks. It's okay. It could make somebody more survivable in a prolonged melee combat. But I think you've got better things. It's a bit passive. I don't think I'd go for it. But if you think if you're doing the kind of game where you might get bogged down by a bunch of orcs or something, or even just Space Marines these days, they've got Primaris Marines have got about 3 attacks each, haven't they? So it could be good to just shut people down. Oh, you think you've got some Assault Intercessors with 4 attacks on the charge? AP -1? No, minus D3, 1 attack each potentially. It is pretty good. But I'm never a fan of Warlord traits that only affect the Warlord themselves. I'd rather have some kind of buffing type thing, unless it's really good. So you've got Glutton for Punishment. It's -1 damage. It's okay. There's a lot of Warlord traits that do -1 damage. You've got them in the Death Guard and the Thousand Suns. A lot of other armies, Necrons have got it. It's okay. -1 damage is always nice. So that's an option. My favourite though. My favourite, and the one I would take probably every game, unless I had a good reason not to for overall synergy and that sort of thing, is Loathsome Grace. Now, Loathsome Grace, when a charge roll is made for this Warlord, you can re-roll the dice. Brilliant. And if this Warlord makes a charge move or performs a heroic intervention, add 1 to their strength and attacks characteristic until the end of the fight phase. That's brilliant. Re-rolling charges is nice, but getting +1 strength and attack, this is brilliant. This could be potentially the buff that you need to get from that bracket gap from strength 7 to strength 8, or from strength 5 to 6, or whatever it might be. Really, really good. If you combined this maybe with the Mark of Excess from the regular Chaos Space Marines Codex, he's got +2 strength and +2 attacks, which is really damn good. Whether you're giving him Lightning Claws or Thunderhammer, I'd probably go for a Thunderhammer or something like that. I think this is a great one. It's perfect for a Demon Prince. If you have a Demon Prince, a nice Emperor Children Demon Prince out there, reroll charges on the Demon Prince is brilliant. Hopefully it's got wings or something. Reroll charges on the Demon Prince, +1 strength and attacks characteristics. Now, right now that's perfect for Demon Princes with either Talons or Swords. As we've seen from the Death Guard and Thousand Suns codexes, the Sword is going to be +1 strength eventually, but for now, right now, for this Chaos Space Marines codex, it's not. So this is absolutely perfect to stick on the Demon Prince and basically do the role that I would normally fill with the Mark of Excess, because again, I put that on the Demon Prince, strength 8 with an extra attack as well. Perfect for the Talons or the Sword, but that is a relic. So if you can put this on a Demon Prince, you save your relic slot. You get the same +1 attack and strength. You get the additional reroll charges, which is great for a combat monster, and it means that he's still free to take some kind of relic slot. I'd probably go for the Rapacious Talons, because rerolling to wound on a Demon Prince is very, very good. That's what I would probably do. I think you get +d6 attacks with them as well, so it's brilliant. That's what I would do personally anyway. Demon Prince, Loathsome Grace, and Rapacious Talons, and that's probably what I would go for most games. Then we get into the stratagems. Now you've got combat elixirs, 2 command points. You can choose 1 Emperor's Children unit from the army that is not a vehicle or a Chaos Cultist unit, and you can choose either +1 attack, +1 strength, +2 movement, or +1 toughness. This is good. It's not something you're going to use in smaller point games, but because 2 command points is a bit expensive. But if you're playing a nice Strike Force game and you've got your 12 command points, I think it's worth it. I would use this on maximum potential. I would go for either a big blob of noise marines if you're running a big blob of 20 noise marines, or maybe a big blob of 10 terminators, that sort of thing. +2 movement I think would be great. +1 strength obviously is probably the most useful, depending what it is. If it's a big blob of lightning claw terminators, then +1 strength. If it's a big blob of noise marines, then +1 toughness in combination with delightful agonies would make them fairly resilient. And +2 movement, making the movement 8 functionally. If you're running that in conjunction with warp time, I think that's actually a good way to get them sort of really zooming across the table as well. So very good. +1 attack. I don't think Chaos Space Marines need more attacks personally, especially with the current update to Death of the False Emperor. Then we've got excessive violence, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when you choose an Emperor's Children infantry unit to fight with. Until the end of that phase, if an attack made by a model in that unit destroys an enemy model, the attacking model can make 1 additional attack against the same unit using the same weapon. So this isn't one that I've used personally. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it could be worth it. You've just got to really think at the time how many models you're likely to kill, because if we're talking about a squad of noise marines or something fighting space marines, you might get 10 wounds in, but then they only fell 3, and you go, okay, so I've got 3 extra attacks. And even then, it's only if you destroy a model, so it may only end up being 1 if it's a 2-in model. It wouldn't be potentially worth it just to get a few extra attacks. But if you're thinking that you're going to kill 15 orc boys, and then potentially get another 15 attacks to finish off the rest of this blob of 30 boys or whatever it might be, then I think that would be pretty good. I would use this as a chaff clearer. I think it's a good chaff clearing stratagem if you just really want to try to capitalize on clearing off a bunch of orcs or tyrannids or anything like that. Pretty good for a chaff clearing thing, I think. And you've got incessant disdain. Use the stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. Select 1 Emperor's Children character model from your army. This model can perform a heroic intervention within 6 inches, and it can move 6 inches. So basically, it's a 6-inch heroic intervention. It's a nice stratagem. It is what it is, really. It's okay. If you had a Demon Prince, they were trying to skirt around the Demon Prince, trying to leave the 3-inch gap so they could kill a unit of noise marines, but not wake up the Demon Prince and get a counter charge or whatever it might be. Pretty good. You might not, you're not necessarily going to go into battle planning to use this, but it's something that could, it's something you're going to just spring out on somebody. If it turns up in the battle, you're not necessarily going to plan to use it or anything like that. It's just a good little thing to have in your pocket if anybody gets too close. And then we've got one of my favourites, and I think one of the most powerful stratagems in the game, frankly, is Honour the Prince. 1 CP, easily worth 2 in my opinion. Use this stratagem in your charge phase after making a charge roll. For an Emperor's Children Slanesh unit from your army, you can change the result of one of this d6 rolled to a 6. So essentially, you have a minimum charge roll of 7 if you rolled a double 1, and you've got a pretty average charge roll of 9 to 10, and a potential easy. If you roll 2 dice, you get a 1 and a 6, then you've just got a 12-inch charge essentially. This is absolutely brilliant. This is so useful. One of the things that you can do, I'm not going to get too far into this because this is sort of what I was saying about making other videos. But if you had, let's say, a big blob of 20 noise marines, you've given them +2 movement to begin with. They're now movement 8. You've warp timed them another 8 inches, so they've moved 16 inches across the table already. They fired off all of their guns. Absolutely horrific shooting phase, which we'll get to in a minute. And now you think that you want to charge. They've got 2 attacks base noise marines, so 3 attacks with on the charge with Hateful Assault, and then obviously getting extra hits on 6s, potentially even extra hits on 5s if we have a Icon of Excess. And again, that's a universal rule now, not just versus marines. So if you want to unleash their horrific shooting phase because they have assault weapons, and then charge in. You've already raced 16 inches across the table. You're now charging in with 20 guys with 3 attacks each, 4 attacks if you have chainswords on them. I'm not sure. I mean, it's brilliant. It's perfect. You might need a 9-inch charge, 8-inch charge, 10-inch charge. You roll your dice, bam. You get a 1 and a 6, and it's just perfect. The other way, and I think the main way people use this, the main way people capitalize on this competitively, is something like a big blob of 10 Terminators with lightning claws. Now, the Emperor's Children Warlord Legion trait is already good. It's always strikes first, so you have functionally a free interrupt. And if you are already engaged in combat and it's your opponent's turn, you get to strike first, even though normally they go strike first. So it's already a good Legion trait for a combat unit like 10 Lightning Claw Terminators. But what this means basically is all you need to do when you deep strike down 9 inches away, all you need to do is get a 3 on at least one of the dice. As long as you don't roll a double 1, a double 1, or a double 2, or a 1 and a 2, as long as you get a 3+ on at least one of the dice, you've made your charge, because you'll just go, oh, I got a 3 and a 1, I'll change the 1 to a 6, and boom, 9 inches. It's absolutely brilliant. It's it's not an auto charge by any extent, but still, I mean, it's really good. Giving yourself an auto 6 for a deep strike charge. I mean, those Terminators are making it in there. They're making it in there, and they're going to blend up whatever they touched. Now, then we've got another incredibly good, another ultra competitive, in my opinion, quite cheap 1CP stratagem that I've used to great effect myself. Excruciating Frequencies. Again, one of the best stratagems in the game, in my opinion. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when an Emperor's Children noise range unit from your army is chosen to shoot with. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to the strength and damage characteristics of Blastmasters, Sonic Blasters, and Doom Sirens. So what do? You take 20 Noise Marines with 18 Sonic Blasters and 2 Blastmasters. You pop this on them. That's now strength 5, damage 2 Sonic Blasters, and strength 9, damage D3 plus 1 Blastmasters. They're 3 shots each at assault 24. This is, it's absolutely blistering firepower. You have Endless Cacophony to shoot this again. This is my whole thing messed up then. I've kind of forgotten where I was, but I think I was basically saying this is a lot of shots. It's so many shots. You get to shoot again. This whole squad of 20, strength 5, damage 2, plus the 2d3, strength 9, damage d3 plus your Blastmaster shots. Shooting twice. This is absolutely blistering, withering, horrific firepower. It's so you can literally you can split fire, 8 shots there, 12 shots there, whatever you want to do. We'll get to how you buff this even further a bit later on once we get to the relics and things, but fundamentally, you've got Veterans of the Long War for +1 to wound. You've got Prescience for +1 to hit. You've got Chaos Lords or Demon Princes for reroll 1s to hit. And it can go even more crazy, which we'll get to in a minute. But this is just insane. It's already incredible. Just keep it in mind when I'll come back to it later. Then you've got Cruel Duelists, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when an Emperor's Children unit from your army that is not a vehicle or Chaos Cultist unit is chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a melee weapon by a model in that unit on an unmodified wound roll of 6, that weapon has an armor penetration characteristic of -3. So again, this is pretty good if you're stuck fighting Marines. This is definitely what I would do if I was trying to sort of finish off any stragglers that were left after I've moved up 8 inches, warp time to move another 8 inches, unleashed all of my horrific firepower in the shooting phase, decimated hopefully most of the opponent's army, certainly a good amount of it, especially their infantry, although you can hose down tanks with these kind of with the Sonic Blasters if you need to. You use it Honor the Prince to get that the extra 6 inch to your charge, and then Cruel Duelist. If you're stuck there fighting power armor, you're charging and you've got your chain swords. You're already -8 -1 with your chain swords. You might not have any chain swords. I think if you have Sonic Blasters, you won't have chain swords, so you'll be AP nothing essentially in that case. And this will be even more important for you. It's just what you're going to bring out if you're stuck fighting Marines. If you've got a big charge coming up against Marines, any 6s to hit. it's going to help you chip through their armor. Unfortunately, it is unmodified wound rolls of 6, so something like veterans isn't going to help you, but it's still good. And then 1 CP tactical perfection. You can use the stratagem at the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins. Select 1 Emperor's Children unit from your army. Remove that unit from the battlefield and either replace it into strategic reserves or set it up again following the usual deployment rules for that unit and the mission being played. If you redeploy a transport model, units embarked aboard it must remain on it when it's set up again. So it's just that security. It's something that you would use if you were to deploy, say, a big blob of 20 noise marines right at the front of your army, hoping that you go first. If you don't go first, you use this 1 CP, redeploy them behind a building or something out of the way. If you had a bunch of stuff in a transport, perhaps noise marines inside something like is it a Storm Eagle, Storm Raven, one of the whichever, the Fire Raptor variant that has 25 or 20 transport capacity. Again, stick that right at the front, hoping to get out or something. Again, if you go, you end up going second, you can redeploy it, stick it in reserve if you want to. Because it didn't go your way and you ended up going second, that sort of thing. Really, really useful, absolutely crucial. Because I do like to just take a big blob of 20 and stick them right at the front and have every plan to just move forwards, warp time forwards, shoot everything I can, and then maybe charge something. If I go second, though, if I go second, I'll be decimated myself and lose the game on turn 1. So just having this tactical perfection stratagem, really, really, really good to just make sure that you don't end up getting screwed like that. If you do happen to go second, that's okay. You can just redeploy them. It's annoying, but with warp time and that sort of thing, you can hopefully get them back to where you need them, even if you did have to take them and put them behind a building or something, or right at the back of the board. If you backline them or something, if you really have to. Very good, very important. And now we're getting to the artifacts. The artifacts. You have, of course, the Mark of Excess and the Chaos Space Marines Codex, +1 strength and attack. That's a kind of an old classic go-to, I'd say, an old classic go-to. I think the other one in there is called like the Bliss Giver or something. It's just one of those shitty, relic bolt pistols, crap rubbish. But in here you've got some good ones. You've got the Endless Grin. Not one I would ever take, but it is an aura. It's an aura. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models and enemy units whilst their unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, and when a morale test is taken for an enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer, they have to roll 1 additional d6. So they'd roll 3d6 and use the 2 highest essentially. It's not something I would use. I've been on record on this channel multiple times with my distaste of leadership manipulation. I just think -1 leadership, taking it on 3d6. If units actually fled and that sort of thing, like in fantasy, I'd be more on board. But all that happens is they roll some dice and maybe on a 1 another model runs away. I don't like it. I don't like to waste my time. I think it's rubbish. I wouldn't ever bother taking this relic ever. Then you've got Fatal Sonancy. 12 inches, assault d6, strength 6, AP -2, damage 1. Automatically hits and ignores cover, so it's essentially a bit of a boosted up Blastmaster, a boosted up Doom Siren, but the only real difference is that it's strength 6 instead of strength 5, and I honestly don't think that's going to make much of a difference for you ever. I mean, if you're fighting toughness 3, it'll get you your 2s instead of 3s, but honestly, I don't think that just getting that extra point of strength is worth taking as a relic personally. Then you've got Armour of Abhorrence. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at the bearer, and the bearer has the following ability: Armour of Abhorrence aura. If an enemy unit fails a morale test, while it is within 6 inches of the bearer, 1 additional model flees from the unit. So they'd lose 2 models to the initial failure, and then potentially a couple more. Again, leadership manipulation, I'm not a fan, but it definitely has its place. If you're fighting a more elite army, making it a very elite army, some kind of large admech units or custodies or terminators or whatever it might be, then that actually would suck. Something on the floor. Then that actually would suck because if nobody wants to just lose an entire terminator or something to this sort of thing, and if you lose 2, plus maybe a couple more to some ones. It's okay, but it's not something I'd ever really use. For me, the main thing would be that you can't fight Overwatch. It's something I might give to a Demon Prince, maybe a Flying Demon Prince, maybe a Jump Pack Lord with a Thunderhammer, that sort of thing. Because I have had Lords get killed by Overwatch before. It does happen and it sucks, so it's definitely a nice idea to maybe ignore it. Then we've got, I'm going to skip forward so I can talk longer about my favourite relic here. We've got Distortion, which is a power sword or a force sword, strength user, AP -4, damage D3, and at the start of the fight phase, the bearer can look upon their reflection. Until the end of the phase, this weapon has a strength characteristic of ×2, but it's -1 to hit. So you take a power sword, you make it AP -4 and damage D3. That's okay, that's nice, and if you want to, you can make it basically a power fist, but it's still an AP -4 power fist. It's pretty good. It's not one I use personally, but it is quite good. If you want a more combat-y based one, I'd probably just go for again a Thunderhammer or something personally, or maybe one of the demon relics, that sort of thing. Maybe those rapacious talons, that sort of thing. That's what I go for personally, but. It's okay. Then you've got the Raiment Revulsive. When resolving an attack made by the bearer, you can re-roll the hit roll and re-roll the wound roll. And when a charge roll is made for the bearer, you can re-roll the result. This is brilliant. This is one of those absolutely. This is just one of those absolutely clutch relics that you want to have. Now, you obviously have the Warlord trait already that gives you +1 strength and attack and re-roll charge rolls. This gives you the ability to have another character with reroll charge rolls, and you can never have too many characters with the reroll charge rolls. Maybe you've got a Demon Prince somewhere, and you've got a Chaos Lord with a Jump Pack and a Thunderhammer, or you've just got some other regular Chaos Lord with a sword or something. But you can never have too many reroll charges for free. It's brilliant, saves you CP. It's great. And when resolving an attack by the bearer, reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll. This is absolutely epic. Again, I think it's perfect for something like a Thunderhammer Lord, a Jump Thunderhammer Lord. You can reroll his charge roll, and he's hitting on 3s with the -1 from the Thunderhammer, so you get to reroll, 3s rerolling. It's much better. And then of course, you get to reroll those 2s to wound or 3s to wound potentially if you're fighting maybe something big like a vehicle. I really think that this makes a very, very capable sort of smash lord, you could call it. Just getting full rerolls to hit and wound, it's brilliant. It's good for a Demon Prince. If you had a Demon Prince with, say, regular Malefic Talons, he obviously rerolls to hit himself anyway, but he is then strength 7 or strength 8 maybe with those Talons. It's nice to be able to get the rerolls on them, which is why I think it's so good to have the Rapacious Talons, because they have reroll wounds built in. They're essentially lightning claws a Demon Prince can take. So this, you could have one Demon Prince with the Rapacious Talons, and you can have another one with this, and they both get to reroll hits and wounds, and they both get to reroll charges. So you could literally have 2 Demon Princes, both rerolling charges, both rerolling all hits and wounds. Really good. But again, I would probably go for a sort of a Smash Lord Thunderhammer guy, just because rerolling hits and wounds with that, very good. If he was hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s versus a tank or something, I think this is going to be exactly what he needs. Especially if he's counting on getting a clutch, deep strike charge, that sort of thing. Really good. And now, backtracking a little bit, we get to the big one. Again, one of the best relics in the game, I would say. I mean, if you're an Imperial player, you'll go, oh, what's the fuss? I've had the Relic of Fallen Cadia for a long time. I've got the Ultramarine Seal of Oath, or whatever it is, but for Chaos, we don't normally get large force multiplying force buffs like this. It's very, very, very rare for Chaos to get something like this. We normally just get a stupid sword or something that's like, it's a demon sword. This is one of those absolute brilliant army buffing relics. It's so powerful. Priest model only, so your Dark Apostle, once per battle, instead of chanting a prayer, the bearer can broadcast a remnant of Mara Gravalia. I don't know how to say it. It's Mara Gravilla or something. Until the end of the battle round, the bearer gains the following ability. Aura. When resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly Emperor's Children unit within 6 inches of a model with this relic, you can re-roll the wound roll. Chaos never get 2 reroll wounds. This is amazing, and it's flat reroll wounds, not even ones. This is like a mini Gilliman for 1 turn, or what he used to be. Just flat reroll wounds for shooting and close combat. I mean, it's already incredible. You can basically, you can center as much of your army around this guy if you want to. Whether you've got Contempt the Dreadnoughts with las cannons, they're rerolling ones because they're core. They're re-rolling their 3s to wound with their las cannons against, basically everything. Absolutely amazing. It's what you would use this to just unleash a particularly devastating turn, probably the first turn firepower. Just everything you've got, whether it's your tanks, of any kind. It's Emperor's Children unit. There's no speculation on what it has to be. Your tanks, your dreadnoughts, perfect. In close combat with anything, potentially. Now, the main thing I use this for, the main thing I think it's good for, is the big old blob of 20 Noise Marines. Now, we've already said how good they are. You've got your excruciating frequencies for the +1 strength and damage. You've got Prescience with +1 to hit. You've got reroll 1s to hit, of course, for Chaos Lord. You've got Veterans with +1 to wound. Then you pop this, and they're re-rolling wounds, just flat re-rolling wounds. So you have so many shots, hitting very reliably, wounding extremely reliably, damage 2. There's no AP on the Sonic Blasters, yes, but they are going to cause so many wounds that your opponent is just going to fail, more than enough saves. Fail more than enough saves to just destroy anything. Like I said, you can clear away infantry units, you can clear away light infantry like orcs and tyrannid, you can clear away heavy infantry like marines, you can hose down tanks, just chipping 2 wounds at a time off of tank. You make them take 20 armor saves, they fail 8 of them, that's 16 wounds. They fail 7 of them, that's 14 wounds. Brilliant, absolutely incredible. It's so powerful, and if he's close by, if he's moving with them as well, because I run this as a blob basically with all my support characters, he's also going to potentially follow them then into combat, and you have all of those nice combat attacks after they've used Honour the Prince and Excessive Violence or Cruel Duelist or whatever it might be. He follows them into combat, and now they're re-rolling hits in combat as well. This is perfect. I mainly see this as something like 20 Noise Marines, Sorcerer, Lord, Dark Apostle, all in one place, maybe 2 or 3 sort of, las cannon, quad las cannon contemptors. Just unleashing this on like a first turn shooting phase, that sort of thing, just trying to absolutely decimate the opponent as much as you can. I think the most benefit you're going to get from this is the shooting phase, but it's definitely going to help you a lot in the combat phase as well. And, just rerolling wounds for Chaos is very rare. Flat reroll wounds, not even reroll 1s, just everything. You're wounding on 4s, wounding on 5s even, just flat rerolls. This is it's so good. It's so good. This sort of blob battle line that you can do, you can crowd a lot of guys around this. It's going to be very hard for your opponent to deal with, I think. There's so much firepower coming in. I'm not doing very well in this tournament, but just as an example, I'm in a 1,000-point tournament. I've got 1,000 points of Emperor's Children. I played my friend who was playing Ultramarines, very, very tough Ultramarines army. 1,000 points each. Just this 20-man Noise Marine unit, plus the supporting characters. With this relic, this Stratagem excruciating frequencies, this relic, the Remnant, that sort of thing. They cleared away 1,000 points of Marines, multiple squads of Primaris Marines, multiple characters, Redemptor, just cleared away 1,000 points of Marines basically in 1 turn, and I won the game. And that was it, because it's just unstoppable. Because of course, don't forget, you use Endless Cacophony and you shoot them again, you fire it all again. Anything you didn't kill the first time around, you just do the whole shooting phase again and finish it off. It's out of this world. It's so good. The fact that you not only have such incredible firepower for the Emperor's Children, but such reliability, you can redeploy, you can get 6 inches guaranteed to your charge roll. You've got combat ability, so much. You've got good charging. You've got a Demon Prince, +1 strength reroll charges with the Rapacious Talons. You've got the Raiment Revulsive on another Demon Prince, or a guy with a Thunder Hammer, reroll charges, reroll hits and wounds. Brilliant, so good. You've got solid shooting, solid combat, good maneuverability, you know, as far as anything else goes. I mean, there's so much to say for the Emperor's Children. They're so strong. If you're struggling to play Chaos, you're struggling to get the wins in, I would recommend, even if your army doesn't look like them, doesn't matter, I would recommend just having a go at playing Emperor's Children and seeing what you can pull off against your opponent. They'll probably be shocked, just shocked by the amount of firepower you can put out, and not just the amount, but how dizzyingly, disgustingly reliable it is, because again, you're potentially hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s or 3s or even 4s. Full rerolls though, absolutely incredible for one turn. So good. They're very strong Legion. You know, in my opinion, I always give an overall opinion for a sort of a State of the Legion type video. I think they're very strong. I think they're doing very well, and I think that, you know, if they keep this up into 9th edition, whenever we get the new codex, you know, it's unsure whether we're going to keep the rules exactly as they are in this carried on book, or whether they're just going to sort of invalidate these and give us new rules in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. Personally, I'm actually hoping it's basically a blank codex, a sort of very generic codex with no flavour in it, and they say, oh, just refer to this for your, you know, your Legion flavour, because I think we've got some great stuff in this book, and I can only imagine how good stuff's going to be, how much better stuff's going to be once we have all of the standard sort of upgrades and buffs that we've already seen with the Death Guard and the Emperor's Thousand Suns. Just, you know, between the, you know, their infantry and their demon engines and all that sort of thing. You know, just imagining those already buffed units, but with, you know, access to these rules in this book, it's going to be absolutely incredible. So I look forward to that. This video is quite long, I think, 41 minutes it's telling me, so I want to let you go now, and I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. This is my last State of the Legion video, although I will do, because this book has come out, since I was doing most of this video with the Faith and Fury book, because this book has come out, I will probably do a sort of overall recap video where I talk about this book and any differences it's made, and, you know, how I think it's going to go forward into 9th edition and that sort of thing. But for now, I can feel my voice going, as it always does after I talk for too long, so I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, I will be putting out a couple more videos hopefully soon, and goodbye for now. Hopefully I will see you in some more videos in the future. Thank you.